If this is true, where he had this alleged back injury, now he is, again, refuting it. Never had a back pain. That means never had back pain, never reported back pain. But if the Colts can find the evidence to show that there was some sort of injury, a non-football injury that happened away from the team because of the CBA and everything that goes in it, yes, he does not have to get paid. And we just spin the block on this in 2024. Now, understand he's saying never had a back pain, never reported back pain. We have video of Jonathan Taylor walking around today. Now, I'm not going to say what I think until y'all see this video. This is Jonathan Taylor. Watch him walking. Seems to be very ginger steps. Gingerly walking. The gait didn't look as smooth as you would think. I'm not saying it's a back injury. I'm not saying what it is, but that don't look like a smooth walk. He has not taken one snap in training camp. Yet here we are with the gait that he has. So y'all let me know on the replay what y'all think of this, okay? The walking that we're seeing from Jonathan Taylor, that looked like a smooth step to you? Is he hiding something? Does Jim Irsay, for one of the rare times, is he in the right here for standing 10 toes down, not trying to negotiate with someone who tried to sneak in with an injury, but now is saying, give me my money? But Jonathan Taylor is saying, no back pain, never reported back pain. The Colts are digging their heels in and trying to make sure that if they don't extend Jonathan Taylor or trade him, which owner Jim Irsay says they don't plan on doing, he will suit up in 2023. Now, this is where things get complicated because the only leverage Taylor has is to, I'm just not going to play. It is not necessarily holding out. The trend now is to hold in, where you're not fined because you're physically there, as you saw. He's there, okay? He's there. But he's not suiting up. He's not participating. He's just kind of there. Jonathan Taylor has requested a trade. And then this is Jim Irsay's response to the media after the trade demand became public. If I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out the league, no one's going to miss us. The league goes on. And that brings us to Jim Irsay's truth. Okay? Jim Irsay's truth. This man says the quiet stuff out loud all the time. Sometimes it's a breath of fresh air. And sometimes it's this, where it's a stark reality that's hella problematic, yet there is an ounce of truth here. Because if Jim Irsay were to die tonight, no one's going to miss him. No one. I mean, he inherited the team from his daddy. And the only thing that has become good from it is the fact that they lucked in and were able to win the Peyton Manning sweepstakes. Jim Irsay has not done that much as the leader, as the head of the Colt franchise. So that part is true. Now, Jonathan Taylor out the league, no one's going to miss us. That's the problem, because that's not true. We're all going to miss him in fantasy. If you have a top 5 pick, you're going to miss Jonathan Taylor being available to be drafted in fantasy. You're going to miss him. You're going to miss him for parlays. You're going to miss him just when watching Red Zone. Jonathan Taylor will be missed more just by being out the league than if Jim Irsay were to die tonight. So let's look at this quote and examine it for what it is. If I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor's out the league, no one's going to miss us. He's half right. More Jim Irsay quotes. We're not trading Jonathan. End of discussion. Not now and not in October. Now, we are on the cusp of August and September. So why he said not now at the end of July and not in October I don't know why. Maybe someone smarter than me can explain that one to me. But when it comes to the trade, they don't want to extend Jonathan Taylor. And they're not going to trade him. So, by doing all of this, by not paying him, by putting him on the non-football injury list, then that would be the last resort for your man Jonathan Taylor. Either he sits out a year and doesn't get paid, and then we run this back all again from scratch next year, or he suits up to get the service year in and be 1 year closer to potentially getting out of this deal. Since entering the league in 2020, Taylor ranks 4th in the entire league with over 3,800 rushing yards and is tied for 3rd with 33 rushing touchdowns. Okay? Now that's in February. We come now to March at the NFL owners meeting. You want Jonathan Taylor back 100%. Jonathan is special. That's Jim Irsay saying that. So again, in March, you want Jonathan Taylor back 100%. Jonathan is special. July, if he's out the league, nobody's going to miss him. What happened between March 27th and July 29th? This model is not going to work. And I thought we were on the verge of something when we had those running backs pulling up on the Zoom. I thought we were on the verge of having something pivotal when we got the RB only Zoom. Now, do I think they should have their own separate wing underneath the NFLPA and they be able to negotiate separate from players? No, that's asinine. You don't do that. That separates the base. As someone that was a former, shop steward at my union, that is an asinine thing. You cannot have that. The whole thing of having a union is that it protects all of us. It can't be just a union for particular groups. To be quite honest with you, that's one of my issues with the union that's often used in media. You have SAG-AFTRA, you have the Directors Guild, the Producers Guild. There should be a whole umbrella that covers all of the people that are within this industry of media. Yet it's sectioned off, and that's why you have SAG and they're fighting. Then, well, all right, well, the PGA, the Producers Guild, and the DGA, the Directors Guild, well, our contracts aren't up, but we'll show support. Like, they don't have to do that. That's the only way that you can really empower the SAG strike is by having these other sectioned off unionized groups come join you. It shouldn't be that way. It should just be an umbrella where all of the people within media, within movie, TV, film, streaming, whatever you do, should be all under the same umbrella because that's where the power lies. And that's my problem with this Netflix quarterback show because it just continues to show the haves and the have-nots. If we keep highlighting one position overall, then yes, the wage gap is going to continue to be hella problematic, and you're never going to get a quarterback that's going to hold out, go on strike, whatever, because they're paid, they're good. Like, it was very pivotal, the last strike lockout that the NFL had, that the QBs had to stand up. And not all of them were trying to stand up. You could go back and look that up. Not all the QBs were out there on the front lines really talking that talk because they were paid and they were good. But that wage gap has continued to where now Justin Herbert's out here, $52.5 million? Joe Burrow's next. Trevor Lawrence after him, and then between them two, maybe Mahomes finally gets his deal done correctly. It's just going to continue pushing the numbers up, whereas your running backs, you can argue who the best running back is, but the best running back with the funny money included is getting $16 million. And that's with funny money. That's not guaranteed money. Whereas we have QBs. Kyler Murray, 45. Now we got Justin Herbert, 52.5. Burrow's probably going to get 53 to 55. Trevor Lawrence probably going to be 55, 57. Then whenever Mahomes and his agent finally figures it out, they're probably going to bang him for 60. Meanwhile, you're going to have running backs scratching and clawing to get 12 mil. And while you can tell me, well, Sam, the running backs aren't as important, you could find a running back in the 5th round. Like, yes, you can find a serviceable, pretty good running back in the 5th round. Would you want a serviceable running back in the 5th round or Christian McCaffrey? Would you want a good, solid, would you want Algiers or Bijan Robinson? The Falcons just showed you the difference. We have Cordell Patterson and we got Algiers. They're both good running backs. Holy shit, that's Bijan Robinson. You know what we're going to do? We're going to take Bijan Robinson. It just got proven to you in the draft. The Lions went out there. They had Swift. They could have hung on to Swift. They had Jamal Williams. They could have hung on to him. Think, you know what? We want Gibbs. We're going to go down to Bama and go get Gibbs. So as much as you keep telling me about, the random 4th and 5th rounder that pans out and can be serviceable, we're talking about elite special players. In the words of Jim Irsay, unprecedented players at that position. There is still a difference. So until we get QBs of this generation to understand their leverage and power, there's no other show. The NBA can't do a show called center. They can't do a show called point guard. It's not going to work. MLB can't do a show called center field, called catcher or pitcher. It's not going to work. Only in that sport, at that position, can a show like that work. So it's going to take that group to band together and fight for those that are beneath them. And right now, the most undervalued position that is almost as vital to their success is the running backs. The O-linemen get paid. You saw what the Giants just gave, what was that, Thomas, right? The Giants just paid their O-line. Now, the Cowboys are being funny money. They're trying to play hardball when it comes to Zach Martin. But most teams know you got to pay your O-line because your O-line protects the QB, the quarterback, the most important position on the field, the most important position of all of sports. They kept banging that drum during the Netflix doc. Thanks, Peyton in Omaha. But O-linemen also open holes for running backs. That means running backs are kind of important too, especially when you have a top tier one. Especially when you have a unprecedented one. Quote from Jonathan Taylor: a lot of positions do a lot for their team, but specifically speaking for the running back position, I can just speak firsthand. We do a lot. You just want to be treated fairly. So, okay, the language has shifted. Okay. From April 19th, when Jonathan Taylor's saying all the right things, not to screw up what he feels is potential ongoing negotiations, to now June 14th, when he's saying you just want to be treated fairly. Guess what, Jonathan? You picked the wrong sport to be treated fairly in. You should have been a QB, bro. That's the only position that gets treated fairly. It's absolutely, positively the only position in that sport, in that league specifically, that gets treated fairly. Unless you're Kaepernick or Lamar. And then we have Jim Irsay's comments about, we have negotiated a CBA that took years of effort and hard work and compromise in good faith by both sides. That's an absolute lie, and we all know that, okay? We know that this is just an absolute lie. The compromise has been always greater on the players than the owners. To say now that a specific player category wants another negotiation after the fact is inappropriate. Now, while I feel the word inappropriate is not accurate here, I do agree you cannot separate yourself. Because if that's the case, the quarterbacks could go have their own union and box all of y'all out. And y'all ain't going to get no money. Y'all ain't going to get no money. The quarterbacks decide, yo, dogs, I'm going to leave them running backs, them DBs, them linebackers. Let's leave all of them and we know what we doing over here. We all just keep copying and pasting the same contract and keep, getting this bag. We just going to go off and do our own thing. If they do that, the sport, the negotiating power for the other positions will crumble. Absolutely crumble and crater if that were to ever happen. Okay? So they need to be careful here because you know that they know in those offices, oh, y'all trying to bring the running backs at their own group? Well, let's go ahead and get the QBs on a Zoom. Let's go get the Q. Jim Irsay will set that up his damn self. He will set that Zoom up himself and say, let's get the QBs on a Zoom and say, hey, you look what these running backs doing? Aren't they ungrateful? I mean, they should be lucky to be in the same union as you. You're giving them all this revenue. You know, if you guys separated and did it on your own, you would get so much more of the revenue. Don't let A-Rod hear that. Don't let Kirk Cousins hear that. Don't let Russell Wilson hear that. Don't let Dak Prescott hear that. Y'all know how they move. Running backs need to be very careful where they can overplay their hand. Because if the QBs were ever to line up and do their own union, it's curtains for every other position in terms of getting the bag. Ain't none of y'all ain't going. Who tunes in to watch a D lineman? Who tunes in to watch Zach Martin? Jerry Jones would have a field day. If he knew he had Dak on a whole nother CBA agreement, he could treat Zach Martin like dirt. He could treat, Micah Parsons when his turn, he could treat him like dirt. Diggs, all of them, like dirt. So be careful, running backs. Because if them QBs band together, it's curtains.